Alright, everyone. So, as you may have noticed, I have not started this video in the usual way. And, that's because this is my 100th video, and I have a little bit of a special surprise for all of you guys. Now, we're playing up against a Goreclaw deck, and we are playing in Historic Brawl. So far, things are looking pretty good for us. Our opponent is just ramping. We'll go ahead and play that tapped land. So you might be a little confused here. Our hand is filled with lands. Opponent gets out their Goreclaw, plays a Llanowar Elf as well. Nice, basic land. Makes a food. 2 cards. Gonna be left in hand. Blue land. Alright, passing back to our opponent. So far, everything is going pretty well for us. We're gonna play out our mountain next turn. Interesting. Alright, no big creature. Let's hope for no Reclamation Sage here. Green is known for enchantment hate, but I think we're gonna be fine. We just need to make it to our next upkeep. Alright, main phase Harrow, doing some ramping. I think we've got this. And in just 1 second, you guys are gonna go ahead and see what we've been waiting for. Alright, opponent passes the turn. It is our upkeep, and here we go. Okay, our opponent's thinking of responding, and they do not, so we're just gonna go ahead and start playing some lands. At this point, the shtick has been revealed. We are gonna go ahead and get this Cultivator Colossus up to 100 power. And then we are going to swing in and kill our opponent, right? Easy game plan. A little bit hard to execute. If our opponent lets us get through all these lands, I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like and how we actually do that. But for now, I'm just going to stay quiet so we can speed this up for y'all. Alright, so we've made it to the end. We've got 95. We've got 99. And here is 100 damage with haste. We've got it. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about this deck and what it does. First and foremost, if you want to win in Historic Brawl with a super janky budget deck, this is actually very, very inexpensive to go ahead and craft. You are going to need 2 mythic rare cards, but that's pretty much it. You don't even need the rare Chromatic Lantern here, and you don't even need the rare lands either, but we have just an assortment of all of those lands, right? And in total, if we take a look at our deck, we've got 93 lands. And basically, all we're doing is we're playing our lands, getting Essica out onto the battlefield, and Essica only has 1 target. and that target is Cultivator Colossus. Of course, if we draw Cultivator Colossus, it's going to be game over for us, right? We're going to automatically lose there. But the really fun thing about this deck is how we actually got it up to 100, because as you notice, we can only have 100 cards in a Historic Brawl deck. You're not actually allowed to go over that limit. So with 93 land cards, we have to understand that we can play one on the turn that Cultivator Colossus enters the battlefield, and likely the bottom card of our library is going to be a land card, so we are probably going to have one land left over in our hand, just in terms of statistics, which is why we needed Antagonize for +4, we needed Escape Velocity for +1 in haste, and Monstrous Rage for an additional +3 power, which all brought us up to 100. Now, the other fun thing here is if you take a look at the number of cards in our hand that aren't lands, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So this means no matter what, as soon as Cultivator Colossus gets pulled by Esika, there is no way that we won't be able to go through our entire library dropping lands with Cultivator Colossus's ability. So, yep, that's how we've gone ahead and done that, and that was the first of our 100 challenges. We're not actually going to be doing 100 challenges, but we do want to hit 100 for a couple of different things. Speaking of, are you interested in seeing X equal to 100, 100 mites, and 100 poison? It might be a little bit overkill, but let's go ahead and see how that's going to work out. Okay, so as you can see, we're playing up against Sparky right now. Now, why is it that we're playing up against Sparky, you might ask? Well, the answer is very straightforward. We set out to go ahead and cast an X value spell with X equal to 100. That being said, with this particular deck, we've beat our opponent by the time we can cast X equals to 10, maybe even 15, right, if we're feeling adventurous. So, we're just going to go ahead and fly through this game. You're going to see how it's kind of monotonous just a little bit with that control strategy, and how we did in fact secure a win long before we actually win the game with this particular deck. But we are going to go ahead and cast a White Sun's Twilight with X equal to 100. That's going to be what we're going to do this game. Now, I did try and make this work in normal games, playing in Standard, and gave it my all, and I'm gonna go ahead and roll just a little bit of a montage for you right now, where you can see we're closing out lots of games with wins, but getting nowhere near 100 on that. This is looking good, and it seems like we've got it. Resolve another spell. We're just gonna have to eventually deal with the Obliterator. We have another Mind Splice, and it looks like we've got it. So yeah, right, you saw, you know how that goes. This is a very strong deck, and I would recommend playing it, but I wouldn't quite necessarily try and do something like cast X equal 100 spells with it. So for the rest of this game, we're just gonna speed it up. That's all I'm gonna do. We'll play through this nice and fast, and then you'll go ahead and see that cast, and we can move on to our next challenge. last, we've reached a point where we can probably go ahead and do this. Click that button a whole bunch, but as you saw, we've had lethal on board for turns, so there's no real good way to cast an X-Spell for X's 100 against an opponent who would actually concede against you. Alright, go ahead, hit that auto pick. 100 tokens, full board. Let's go ahead, end the turn. Yeah, we'll just go ahead, counter that, pull you back, submit those. As you see, this deck will go infinite because TeeVee is cover-up, so we don't even have to worry about decking ourselves. We've got all those counters, and we can finally go ahead and say 100 1/1 mites, 100 damage, and 100 poison counters. So this is a bit of a throwback to an old deck, slightly changed to make the challenge a little bit easier for us, but very early in the history of this channel, I had a standard video where we cast White Sun's Twilight with X equal to huge numbers. You know, we're talking things like 16, 18, right? Just like big numbers like that. Now, for X to be equal to 100, you've won the game. You've already won the game 3 or 4 times over. We saw that. We saw that up against Sparky. Right, we had to play against Sparky because all of our other opponents would concede, but this is a very powerful deck, and I'd recommend checking out that original video as well if you're interested in it. Now, next up, we're going to be diving back into some of the jank and away from those powerful decks, and going for another 100 challenge. Let's go ahead and see if you can guess what that is after we queue into a game. Alright, opponent going first. Do I believe in this treasure hunt? I do. I believe in it. We'll keep this opening hand. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what is our 100 goal for this game, and I guarantee whatever you think it is right now, it's not going to be correct, but I'll show you in just a second when we get there. Opponent plays a mountain and passes. We've got over 100 cards in our library right now, so that's pretty good for us. We're up against a goblin deck, so we're going to need this treasure hunt to be good, but I am going to wait one more turn to cast it for a reason that will hopefully become apparent. Lord Skitter, alright, so it's Rakdos. Interesting. Seems like maybe a Rakdos value deck. Let's go treasure hunt. Reliquary Tower as our land, Ivory Tower. We're going to start gaining life now. Though, unfortunately for us, we are going to need to draw into something. As we no longer have any castable cards in our hand, we just have the ability to gain a bunch of life. Yep, Rat in Exile, that's fine. Looking good. Skitter's Butcher, that's fine. Make another rat, most likely. No. I'm gonna sack a creature, that's fine by me. Makes it much easier for us to stabilize. Things are looking pretty good for us. With 13 cards in hand, we'll be gaining 9. So we are going to be in a pretty good spot. I am going to play out another Reliquary Tower and Ivory Tower as well. We did draw another Ivory Tower, so that's pretty good for us. We're going to keep gaining life. Alright. Looking at a decent amount of damage here, but our life gain is definitely going to outpace this for right now. So we've got time. We're winning the time game. Up at 28, just past the turn. Again, all we need to do is find one very specific card. And most of our cards will help us find it. Impact Tremors, once again. Sure, that's essentially ends up being 1 more damage per turn, which will make up for more than double that with each card we draw. up to 35, and we get a Seek New Knowledge. So let's go ahead and seek some knowledge. Well, that's deeply unfortunate. We now have all of our ivory towers, and we're back to the waiting game. But we are going to be gaining 4 times that amount of life, so that's going to be pretty good for us. Zack and Scry out of our opponent, most likely. No? Maybe, we'll see. Get rid of Seek New Knowledge, sure. Now, 12 cards in our hand. That's going to be pretty good. We'll auto-pass on everything. We'll be gaining it all back. Impact Tremor, sure. Opponent may be able to swing for more and more damage each turn, but we will gain back a whole bunch. Pass. I really want to see a non-land card here. Goblin Instigator. I'm gonna deal some more damage. That's fine. We're still in a great spot. I believe we'll be gaining somewhere in the ballpark of 36 life. Opponent's only dealing, what, 12-ish damage? 14 with the impact tremors? Looking good. The fun thing is, for each card we draw, we'll be gaining 4 more life per turn. So this will get out of control pretty quick. Our opponent's not quitting, though. I think this implies that they have at least something that might be able to get them out of here with enough damage. Tangled Colony, sure. That's fine. Another rat, yep. Impact Tremors, definitely putting in work. $49, we're still in a pretty good spot. Another island there. Again, our opponent's not doing anything that's really scaling. And only 3 cards left in their hand. I'd really love to see another treasure hunt. That would be really strong. I think we'll get there, though. Okay, 4 more rats. A bunch more damage. So that does start putting our opponent ahead. So our opponent was able to deal 25 damage, and we have found the card that we are looking for. I'm going to go ahead and pass, but we have Phyrexian Processor in our hand. Now, what is it that we're trying to do? I would like to pay 100 life, and then use that 100 life to make a 100/100 black Phyrexian minion creature token. Now, obviously, because of our opponent's board state, we are going to have to wait a little bit on that. I want to make sure I'm prepared for the amount of damage that our opponent does in 1 turn. We find a Seek New Knowledge. I am going to seek. And I am going to use Treasure Hunt here. That's going to draw us a bunch more cards. Now that should put us far enough ahead to the point where I'm comfortable with the amount of life that we're gaining. Now, 114 life right now. We'll see exactly how much damage our opponent does to us on a turn, and then we're going to take the riskiest turn of the game. Alright, so that's probably a huge turn for our opponent, right? Feasibly, they will not be making a better turn than this. So we'll see how much damage they're able to deal. And then if we're that far above 100, I'll feel comfortable going for it. If not, we'll just wait another turn. Okay, another 3 damage here. Our life gain is outpacing them, and we are going to be gaining much more thanks to that treasure hunt. Now, opponent's dealing a lot of damage, so... That was 46? 46 damage that turn? I'm gonna go for it. $100. And end the turn. Put us down to 88. Now we should be at a point where I think we're good. Should be gaining 120 life per turn. Of course, our opponent's battlefield is going to deal increasingly more and more damage. But here we're going to start making our 100-100 Phyrexian processors, and now our opponent's leaving up blockers. Alright, we might get a concede soon because they realize they're not going to be able to outpace them. But 78 cards left in our library. Our opponent will mill out first. And let's make that first processor. There's our first 100-100 Phyrexian processor, and with that, we'll go ahead and pass the turn. We're going to start being able to kill our opponent's attackers, and we're going to be making one of these bad boys each turn. Now, I know that this is definitely a slow and steady long haul, but look at all of those 100s. Well over 100 life, over 100 cards in our deck, soon to be over 100 cards in our hand. Our life is going to be growing exponentially as we start drawing those cards. Yeah, opponent's thinking about attacks. Yeah, you just kind of got to swing all. Leave Lord Skitter back, that's fine. Now, of course, we want to be careful not to block the Tangled Colony, so we'll go ahead and second best 2 damage there on Lord Skitter's Butcher. Go ahead, get that out of the way, and slowly decrease the amount of damage that our opponent is capable of dealing each turn. Next turn, another 100-100 Phyrexian minion for us. Yep. Tons of life. Make our next processor. And now we're going to start forcing those blocks. Again, it doesn't really make a difference if we block something that our opponent's attacking us with, because our life total will not be changing. Opponent's always going to need to leave a chump blocker. Our hand growing huge. Today is the day of 100s, and while certainly we won't be getting 100 Phyrexian minions out on the battlefield, you know, we are going to have so much power on this board. Yep. Opponent selectively swinging again, and we'll be blocking. Yep, that's the easiest way to do it for sure. Who are they going to leave back? Alright, go ahead and block. Honestly, do I care to block the Tangled Colony? We'll go with Lord Skitter's Butcher for now. Again, our blocks don't particularly matter. Each turn, our opponent is going to have to leave up more and more blockers, and eventually we'll eat through. Notably, these rats cannot be used to chump block. So these tokens that they keep generating are not going to be very helpful. Let's make our third 100-100 Phyrexian processor. Alright. Lots of things being processed. We're well over 300 life at 365. 2 blocks. Again, next turn they'll have to keep back 3 blockers to keep all this damage away, so... we're looking pretty good. End the turn here. So they do have the blockers. As it currently stands, our opponent is on a 2-turn clock before they are no longer able to hold off the 100 damage. Now, what do I want to do here? I think, honestly, I'll block the Tangled Colony here. Yeah, they can't block with those. Those guys are too valuable. Don't care about the extra damage. We'll do this. Yep. Doesn't matter. Here's 100 rats. We've now also made 100 rat tokens for our opponent. That's going to be a ton of impact tremors triggers. Going to bring us down to 42. Or it's going to freeze the game. Either way. We gain 132 life. Yep. This does not kill us. Alright. Well, that was that. Glad we got that out of the way now. That being said, we are going to be on the hook for next turn, as it's going to be very difficult with how much our opponent can swing out for. Taking a look at our hand, we've got 37 cards in our hand. So we'll be gaining 132 life, which, notably, our opponent also cannot swing out for 132 next turn, so we are still A-okay. I'd be concerned if we see another Tangled Colony. We definitely can't survive that twice, but I do think it's important to show our opponent that they really should just stop trying to win the game. We're auto-passing here, so they're holding priority for some reason. I don't think they'll have a way to deal 42 damage with one card, but we'll see. Alright, back to our turn, and we are gaining all this life. Up at 174. Now, let me just take a look here. 2 treasure hunts, 2 seek new knowledges. So, 4 cards in exile, yeah? Do I want to treasure hunt here? Draw an unknown number of cards. It will decrease the number of turns we have, but it will gain me so much more life on our next turn. So we'll go ahead and do that. And by so much more, I mean that's just draw 2 cards. Alright, that's fine. Swinging out for 300 damage, our opponent will need to block. Very quickly running out of blockers. So next turn, we have lethal on them. They have this turn to figure it out. Again, I was hoping that that treasure hunt would have given us a little bit more, but our opponent can swing out for 123, 4, 7, 127 is going to be the total. So that's 130 damage out of our opponent if they go all out this turn. And on the swing back for us next turn, they only have 2 creatures capable of blocking our 3 100/100, so this should be the game and lethal. Yep. Again, they have to swing all out here and hope, but it won't be enough. We have paid our 100 life and made our 100/100s. Like we saw as a common theme with a lot of our other decks, if we only paid 20 life and made a 20/20, that would have been fine too. And of course, we definitely didn't need to go ahead and block that Tangled Colony, but I did want our opponent to know that even in the best case scenario, they were not going to be able to beat us. So yeah, they can take all the time that they want, selecting one at a time all 120 of their rats, but if they did count correctly, which it does for you, that will be 120 damage, and me with 39 cards in my hand currently, am going to be gaining 140 life back on my upkeep. So we're just gonna wait. Our opponent's gonna take all the time that they need, and that's gonna be the game. Now, I hope you guys have all enjoyed my quest to do 100 things in many different ways. We've got to see lots of fun, quirky, and jank 100s out on the battlefield today, and I really appreciate all of you for watching me as I've put out now 100 videos for you guys. Now, at the time I'm recording this, I do not yet have 100 subscribers, but I am quite close. So if you enjoyed any of this nonsense, please definitely consider hitting that subscribe button, because I do want to hit that next goal, and I do want to keep on doing fun and exciting things for you guys. Now, if there's something else, another challenge that you think would be fun and exciting to see, also let me know, because I would love to go in and make that video for you guys. Down at 48, moving back to my turn. Gonna go ahead, gain all of that life. Let's make the final of our processors, and we will swing out for 300. Our opponent can block 2, and therefore we will kill our opponent with 100 damage. And that's gonna be the last 100 for us. Let's see if our opponent's a good sport and lets it all go through, or let's see if they decide to rope us out, because that's also a valid option. It's okay. And there it is. Alright, looks like our opponent has come back, blocked the way they should, and we are going to go ahead and deal that 100 damage to their face. Thank you guys for all your time watching, and I hope you all enjoyed.